Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode in my 2023 garden. Yesterday I finished planting my home garden. So I thought I'd take you around and give you a quick tour of what I've planted in my home garden. So let's start here with this little bed that I put next to the greenhouse. I decided to put my sweet pea currant tomatoes in here. You can see they're just starting to flower. So yeah, they're both going to reside in here. These plants get a little bushy, so they each have about 2 square feet in this garden. So they should do okay in here. The hardest part with these plants is they tend to grow sideways instead of growing up. They don't get real tall. They only get about 4 feet tall. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, every year is an experiment. Then I put some marigolds around the outside, and in the center here, get this leaf out here. These are bunching onions in the center here. I just put them in a couple days ago, so they haven't quite taken hold yet. You can see some of them have. So they should be doing fine after a while. So that is what I put in this little bed here. This bed, remember this bed that we fixed up this spring? What I did to it was I put shade cloth over the top of it. See that? And the reason I did that is because every year my lettuce bolts, lettuce and spinach. Chipmunk police are out every year. And so I thought, well, if I can keep the noon sun off the top of it, then maybe I can get some lettuce growing. Now I planted all of this stuff extremely late, so we'll see what happens. I did get a few plants from a nursery, and you'll see those. But I actually made a plan. Look at that. I kind of stuck to this plan. We'll see what happens. All right, so in door number 1, I have kale. Now, kale is one of my favorite things to grow. I think I say that a lot. Anyway, if you think you don't like kale, try growing your own. I say that every year because it tastes different when you grow it yourself. A lot of things do. So yeah, if you think you don't like it, try growing it yourself. It's much more tender. I've also got seeds started here, and can you see them right there? Seeds started here. This one, maybe that's them there. Right there. See that? So I'll have 5. Well, these are doubles, but I'll have 5 big plants for here. It looks like something is getting in here. Oh boy, this will be interesting. Next to the kale, between here and those lettuces, is carrots. So I just planted a bunch of different varieties. I didn't even write down what I planted. I just came in here and planted them. They're starting to come up, but it looks like some animal is getting in here. I have to come in and fix this chicken wire because I'm getting a lot of animals coming in my plants and digging them up. And that hasn't been a problem for me in the past. So we got to put a stop to that. Okay, door number 2. Lettuces. I'm basically doing cut lettuces, or cut and come again, I guess you would call them. So this is called Wildfire Mix. This is one I got from a nursery. These here are a little older than those. I got 2 different sizes when I picked them up. I just bought 2 3-packs and picked them up. And then you can see these seeds are very germinating very well. I need to get in there and thin them out a little bit because it's just a little too much in certain places. Like if you look here, that's too many seeds in there. So yeah, lettuces are doing very well. Door number 3. Here we have spinach. You can see it's coming up really well. I believe it was like large leaf spinach or something like that, and giant noble spinach are the ones I planted. So I'm happy with how they're doing so far. Spinach is another one of those things that I like to grow myself because it just tastes so much better than the stuff you get in the store. And then down in the end here are scallions. I planted guardsmen this year because I've heard a lot of gardeners like OG gardeners, here you can see them coming in, are planting this guardsman variety. I picked them up from Johnny's, so we'll see how they do. I'm really looking forward to having scallions that I grew myself in my salads. I love putting them in salads. So that is this raised bed. So I did a plan for my raised bed garden as well. You can see it there. Let's see how well I stuck to it. As we enter this garden, I have these trellises here. I'm going to put cucumbers on this first set of trellises as you walk in. So I've just planted these yesterday. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cucumber plants, different varieties. Yeah, so they will grow up and over this trellis. Probably meet in the middle. We'll see. I added, all around the garden, I added flowers. Marigolds here because these tomato plants that are in here, yes, they already have ripe fruit on them. I think I started these in February down in my basement. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if I showed that in a video or not. This one isn't looking very good. See that I may end up pulling him out. They got sunburnt because I had them in my greenhouse, which usually doesn't get them sunburnt, but the sun was coming through the door and they were in that light, so they really got sunburnt. So I'm hoping all this new growth that's on here is okay. This variety and that variety is Husky Cherry. They're really stout. Here, this is what happened here. I just noticed this branch is broken. I'll have to wait. Really stout, stocky variety. If you look at like the stem on this thing, you've got a split stem. It's about as wide as my finger. It's a nice little husky plant, I guess. This one is supposed to be Tiny Tim. If any of you have grown Tiny Tim, you know that he only gets to be, supposed to be 12 to 18 inches tall. This guy is a little more like 2 feet, grew really fast, tall fast, and then stopped. So he does have fruit, ripe fruit, kind of sour. And this one does too. Has ripe tomatoes on it. So if you want ripe tomatoes early, just start them earlier. But you have to, like they had green tomatoes on them when I brought them outside. And every day you just walk up to them and shake them. when they're in your house. And that's how they get pollinated, because tomatoes are wind pollinated. I mean, they get pollinated by insects too, but yeah, just shake them and that pollinates them. Now there are tons of little insects around here that do the job for me. So yeah, I've got these 3. I don't know how long they're gonna last, but I'm kind of figuring by the time my other cherry tomatoes start to ripen, I can yank these ones out. They'll probably be done. So this is the other bed. Here's the entrance. Oh, don't look there. We're gonna go this way because I don't want you to see my flower garden yet. So yeah, I've got one there, one back there, one over there, one here, and then down the middle I have zinnias. Now that I'm looking at it, it's not quite in the middle, but I always like to grow zinnias in between these beds with plants that will vine, and they'll pop up and they'll really attract a lot of pollinators. So that's what's in this bed. This bed here, I decided to grow zucchini. I've got a couple different varieties in here. This is a 4 foot by 4 foot bed. So we're going to try the square foot method in this one. Put one zucchini plant in the center of every 4 foot square. And then I threw some zinnias here in the middle. So we'll see how that works. Originally I was only going to put 2 plants in, but they germinated well enough I was able to get 4. In this corner, these are 4 foot by 8 foot beds. And that one's 8 foot that way. I put some parsley in. This is some parsley that I got from the grocery store. You know, in the vegetable section, you have those live parsley plants. I just put them in a pot and eventually put them in the ground. Now I just cut them back because they were going to seed, but you can see it's already got new growth in there. So that's flat leaf parsley. And then these 2, same thing. Oh no, I take it back. That one I found growing someplace it wasn't supposed to be growing. These are oregano, by the way. And that one was one I got from the grocery store. So they're doing pretty well. In the back here, I've got 2 pepper plants. Here I've got 2 pepper plants in this bed. One's a red hot cherry, one's a jalapeno. So that's where those are going. And then I put some zinnias, no, not zinnias, cosmos in the back there. Zinnia, zinnia, zinnia. This is a bell pepper North Star, and this is one of those glow peppers, hybrid, smaller than a bell, bigger than a lunchbox. So that's what's growing there. And then this tomato plant I've got surrounded by marigolds. Got some zinnias in the back. This tomato plant is Abe Lincoln, so he's going to be growing there. Then over here I've got Martha Washington. It's a hybrid. This is Aussie, yellow beefsteak, and strawberry oxheart here. I've got some celery here and zinnias. All the flowers, by the way, I grew from seed. I've got some yarrow here. Look at this sage. Isn't it beautiful? The sage comes back every year. I'm in zone 5 and it's in a raised bed, so that's pretty hardy. It's probably hardy to zone 4 or 3. And then tarragon comes back every year. I dry this and give it away as Christmas gifts. People like it. So yeah, I love tarragon. Other side of the garden, you can see my irises are almost done here. Yarrow, I love yarrow. It is a great plant for in the garden. except it spreads, but it really attracts a lot of pollinators. This plant is always just covered in pollinators. So I cut this way back this year, and it's still doing fine, even though I chopped it up. More irises. Got a flowering plant back there. This is a mystery plant. It's either a zucchini or a spaghetti squash or something else. I don't know. It just planted itself from last year, so we'll see what ends up growing here. Over here, I've got sweetgrass. This is a spreader. They say it spreads up to 2 feet in a year. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. But we'll see what happens. It's supposed to smell like vanilla. It's supposed to be very fragrant. Turning around. This was a Mother's Day gift from my granddaughter and son and daughter-in-law. This is a tomatillo. It's already got its first flower. I don't think I've ever grown tomatillos. So now I have. Over here on this side of the trellises are my small fruited or cherry tomatoes. I've got the midnight snack and the other dark one that I bought from the greenhouse. That's midnight snack. Indigo rose. So they've got flowers on them already. This potato leaf one is Galenas cherry. And this one over here is my brandy sweet plum that I absolutely love. And then on this side I put marigolds here and a few marigolds here. And you can see my chives. They've had flowers on them for a while, but I think chives are great in the garden because they're early bloomers and they give the early pollinators something to eat until the dandelions start. And once the dandelions are done, then by that time the flowers should be started. So yeah, I've always loved having chives in the garden. I see another weed that I missed here. Over here, this is flowering kale. So I don't know if you can eat it. I think it's non-edible. I have some dill that just came up from last year and another celery over here. Rhubarb is doing very well. Again, this year, I gave it a little more room. The landscape fabric that was down here is choking it off. So I pulled that all way back, and I think it looks pretty good. I've already had my first harvest. Very good. Over here, these are the corbaci pepper plants that I plant for one of the guys at work. I found out that peppers and petunias are companion plants. Who knew that? Raise your hand if you knew that. So I put some double petunias in here with the corbacis. And look at this guy. I think he needs some magnesium. We'll give him some, I'll throw some Epsom salt on these guys. So yeah, those are corbaci. These are beans. I did not have good luck with beans this year. And I think I finally figured out I forgot to put an inoculant with my beans. Although I don't remember doing it last year and I had really good luck. It's been really hot here. Look at these poor beans. Really hot. It's been in the 90s. So all these young spring plants are having a heck of a time dealing with that heat. But this batch did pretty well. This is a batch of old seeds. I believe this is a batch of seeds from last year, because the seeds I bought this year did not want to germinate. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for them. Finally, I dug up a seed and it was all mush. and it just dissolved. So I ended up planting the ones from last year, and they did much better. And then I've got potatoes. You all saw me plant these potatoes. Plants all doing very well. They do pretty well in the heat. So I'm looking forward to some fresh potatoes. Nothing beats the taste of fresh potatoes. So that is it. That was really, really quick. I can remember when my garden tour videos used to be 45 minutes long. Yeah, I've really cut down here because it's just, it's really hard to keep this stuff watered. And so with the kind of weather we've been having, we just are so drought stricken here lately, the last few years. So we'll see. I've got enough here between, I've got the farm garden. So it's not like I'm not going to get any produce, but this is just enough produce for me to be able to grab a pepper here and there and, a tomato and, snack on this and snack on that. So that's kind of what I wanted to do here. Just so I had, some fresh cucumbers and that kind of stuff. So we can enjoy this here, and then when I go up to the farm, that'll be my production garden. So I hope you enjoyed this garden tour. I'm looking forward to watching it grow and seeing kind of what I get out of this garden this year. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy gardening. Bye-bye.